Today we're checking out filming locations for a movie that I bet a lot of you don't even remember watching. And those of you that do remember seeing it probably didn't realize it was a Disney movie. Now this film features an extremely young Michael J. Fox back when he went simply by Michael Fox. It also has the Dr. Pepper guy in it.
I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper.
Of course, I'm talking about Midnight Madness. And this movie was filmed all around Los Angeles. There's a ton of locations. Now, although I didn't get every single spot, I think I did pretty dang good. So, let's go for a little bit. Right now, I'm walking down Broadway just beside Los Angeles State Historic Park and not far from Dodger Stadium. And it was somewhere over here, most likely up there on that hill, where they placed the camera to get the opening shot of the movie. Okay, so notice in the movie, Los Angeles City Hall, and then the Bank of America building, which at the time was the Security Pacific building, and then this tower. Here's City Hall, there's the Bank of America building, and you can no longer see that tower because of these buildings, but it's right behind them. Then if we go back to the movie, you can see these train tracks and this street that curves to the left, and then this sports field. Los Angeles State Historic Park used to be the train yards. There's still some tracks that run alongside of it. The street that curves to the left is Broadway, the street that I'm currently standing on, and that sports field is Cathedral High School, which has since been remodeled since the movie was filmed. Those scenes in the beginning of the movie with Candy and Sunshine skating around, handing out the invitations to the different team leaders, those were filmed right here at Occidental College in Eagle Rock, California. Well, not entirely at Occidental College. A couple of the scenes were filmed at Disney Studios in Burbank, California. The girls were just skating in front of what's now the Studio Store. They're now skating down Dopey Drive, and if we go back, notice that parking structure. Now this isn't the exact angle, but it's all I could find, and it's pretty close. And we're now back at Occidental College. Now the camera is actually shooting from inside this building, looking out of these two doors, and Candy and Sunshine skate up right here. And you can see this wall and this smaller wall right behind them. And the leader of the red team was standing right inside there when they passed her the invitation. And when Candy and Sunshine deliver the invitation to Harold, that was filmed in Hollywood. Right here on the corner of Sunset and La Brea used to be a tiny Nailers restaurant, and that's where Harold is sitting and waiting for his cheeseburger when the girls skate up and deliver the envelope to him. And although the tiny Nailers restaurant is gone, there's still some proof that this is where it was filmed. Harold would have been parked somewhere over here, and behind him you can see this sign for Roman's Liquor. You can even see some of these stores inside the plaza. And they're now back at Occidental once again to deliver the final envelope. All of the teams show up here to the Hollywood Tower to find out what those invitations are about. And we see Adam walk up right here in front of the Hollywood Tower sign. We're not able to get a very good shot of the Hollywood Tower anymore because of, you guessed it, all of these trees that now block it. Adam stands right here looking up at the building, and you can see this building across the street. All of the teams head back to the Hollywood Tower and they gather right here in front of the building to find out what the game's all about. It's more of a crane shot looking down on everybody, but they've since added this awning in front of the front doors, so it's not really possible to get that same shot anymore. And Leon stands right there by the front entrance of the building with his two companions, Candy and Sunshine, and he stands here explaining to all the teams how the game is going to work. And once Leon reads the first clue, all the teams run to their vehicles and the game begins. All of the teams think they've figured out the first clue, but everybody thinks it means something different, so they all go in different directions. That was right here in this intersection where we see all the teams split up. But this entire area has been torn down and rebuilt since the movie was made, and nothing here looks the same. Now, this is not the last time we're going to see this intersection. The green team heads to the Wax Museum to try and see the stars. A lot of people believe that was filmed here at the Hollywood Wax Museum. However, we never do actually see the outside of the building. The white team is just a couple of blocks down in front of the Chinese Theater. They come to Hollywood Boulevard to try and see the stars, but the only thing they find is Mickey Mouse's star. Now you can see the Chinese Theater has changed a lot since then, but they were standing right there, and here's Mickey Mouse's star. Now the red team heads to the Stargate Disco to try and see the stars, and it's widely believed that this was filmed at Osco's Disco nightclub, which used to be located on the corner of La Cienega and San Vicente. However, it was torn down years ago. It used to be right there on the corner just before the Beverly Center. Now, since it was torn down, it's kind of hard to match up those scenes, but from all the pictures that I was able to find, I do believe that that's where this scene was filmed. Of course, the correct answer to the clue is the Griffith Observatory, and the blue team is the first to arrive thanks to Harold's computer. His van would have been parked right here on the grass. And by the time the yellow team arrives, the blue team is already driving away because they've already figured out the clue, again because of Harold's computer. The inside of the museum has changed a lot in the last 40 plus years. The entrance is probably about the only thing that still looks the same. However, that was a crane shot, so without at least a really tall ladder, I'm not able to get that same shot. This was about the best I was able to do. But you can see here that the entrance still looks really similar. It even still has the same flooring. Now, it's possible that this is where those glass display cases were that the green team knocks over, but again, things have changed so much in here that it's really hard to say for sure. And they use this giant telescope to try and figure out the clue. Now, of course, this is only open at night, but we are able to peek through the glass and we can still see where they were. You can see right here, this is where Adam walks up the steps to try and use the telescope to figure out the clue if he can just get rid of that creepy kid. Now, of course, you wouldn't really be able to use this telescope to look through somebody's window or to look at a bank sign and figure out a clue. This is actually the shot that you would get of the city from up here by the telescope. And if you look really hard, you might even see a naked Terminator. After the observatory, everybody heads to the Los Angeles Piano Museum. Now they show the address in the movie as 1250 Beverly Boulevard. However, that address doesn't really exist. Now some people believe that scene was filmed at Sherman Clay Pianos on Wilshire Boulevard. However, that building does not match up with what we see in the movie. Now, this building right here behind me, this also used to be Sherman Clay Pianos, and this building, it has changed a bit. I believe it was built in 1974, so it's been updated, but if you take a good look at this building, it is really close to the one that we see in the movie. So the blue team's van would have pulled up and parked right about here. Probably the biggest thing that's changed since the movie was made is the front entrance to the piano museum. It would have been right here on this wall, and it since has been covered up. But if you look at where the two walls come together right here, the way that they're slanted, it matches up exactly with the building that you see in the movie. Also, if you look at where all of these windows are, the way that it slants up there at the top, that also matches up perfectly with what you see in the movie. Now the parking lot for the Piano Museum, that's a bit tricky, and I'm pretty sure that they used two different parking lots. So like I said, the blue van pulls up and it parks right here, slanted, not even in a parking space. However, when the yellow team is trying to get into the museum, they look back at the vehicles and you can see that the blue van is now in a space directly across from the front entrance to the Piano Museum. Now, if that were this parking lot, right in front of the blue van should have been DeSoto Avenue. However, if you look closely in the movie, you can tell that there's actually a median and then more parking spaces, so the parking lot is bigger. But if you look closely at the scene where the yellow team is walking up to the Piano Museum and the camera is inside looking out of the front doors, you can see that it's actually a different parking lot, and the yellow team's vehicle and the blue van are parked in front of a short wall with about 3 bricks, which matches up exactly with what you see right here. Short wall, about 3 bricks. Right here it's a little bit taller. This could have been added, but this right here seems to match up exactly with what we see in the movie. So I can't say 100% that this is where that scene was filmed, but I'm about 99%. Everything here seems to match up. So I would say this is where the Los Angeles Piano Museum was. The yellow team pulls up to an intersection where there's a Greyhound bus depot, and that's when Adam notices his little brother Scott waiting for the bus. Scott is of course played by Michael Fox, or Michael J. Fox as we know him today. Now, funny little coincidence, Michael J. Fox later goes on to play Scott Howard in Teen Wolf. It was right here on the corner where that Greyhound bus depot was. You can see it's no longer a Greyhound bus depot, but that window still matches up. And when the yellow team first pulls up to the intersection, you can see a building behind them that's really unique looking, and we can no longer see it because of this tree. I mean, the building's literally right behind this tree. So if we walk down here a little bit, there's that building. It's changed a bit, but still completely recognizable. And when Scott's trying to walk away from Adam, you can see the business across the street, which was Crumb Metal and Wood Originals. And that would have been this building right here on the corner, which is now Tony's Deli. You can also see in the movie a Not a Through Street sign, which isn't in the same place. It's been moved to the corner, but it's still there. Meanwhile, back at the Piano Museum, the green team is still trying to figure out Leon's theme, which will give them the next clue, when suddenly they recognize it as the Pabst Blue Ribbon jingle, one of their favorite tunes. So everybody heads over to the Pabst Blue Ribbon Brewery, and the green team pulls up and parks the meat wagon right here across the street. And right as they're getting out of their car, they stop and they look up and they notice the Pabst Blue Ribbon logo that used to be on the side of this building. They would have been standing right about here looking up at that wall at the logo that used to be where that tree now is. There also used to be another section of building right here that you can see in the movie, which obviously no longer exists. While on their way to the brewery, the red team passes by a carnival, and Peggy and Lulu get excited and jump out of the back of the truck and go running into the carnival. That was filmed at the old Long Beach Pike Amusement Center. Unfortunately, The amusement center was torn down right around the same time that the movie was filmed. However, in the beginning of that scene, you can definitely see this building, and it's probably one of the only buildings left right here from that time. They passed right by this building, and that would mean that the carnival was somewhere right about here where this island's restaurant now is. The blue team is coming down the street when they notice the yellow team coming around the corner, and the blue team decides to pull over so they can follow the yellow team. Now when the yellow team comes around the corner, you can see a sign for a tune-up and car wash place. That was this sign right here. It's now covered by, yep, a tree, but that's the sign. You can still recognize it. And I forgot to mention that that apartment building across the street was a Del Taco at the time. You can see the old school sign in the movie. And the blue team is coming down the street this way, and when they see the yellow team, they quickly pull into a car wash to hide out. Now it's still a car wash, but it looks nothing like it did in the movie. However, there's a building that you can see across the street from the car wash. It's now blocked by the new car wash building, but if we come around to the other side, there it is. That's the building that you can see across the street from the car wash while the blue team's van is hiding out. Everybody then heads over to Johnny's Fat Boy Burger, which is Johnny's coffee shop located right here on Wilshire Boulevard.
It's on Wilshire Boulevard.
Everyone pulls into the parking lot right here, and you can see the Johnny's mascot, which is no longer here because Johnny's is no longer a functioning restaurant. It's now just used as a filming location. But even though that mascot is no longer here, you can still find a very similar one at the Bob's Big Boy Broiler in Downey. We first see the yellow team come into the parking lot, and they park somewhere right over here. The blue team quickly follows behind them, and Harold decides that he's going to sabotage the yellow team's Jeep. And that would have all been going on right over here in this area. So all the teams head inside the restaurant, and they're trying to figure out what the next clue is when they suddenly realize the next clue is on the waitress's necklace. Now I think this scene must have been filmed in another section of the restaurant because nothing here seems to match up, and there's a whole nother section in the back of the restaurant, but there's a curtain blocking that section. They even have black curtains on the windows back there. So the yellow team is the first to realize that the next clue is Huge M, which refers to the Huge M on the mini golf place. Now they're about to head over there when they notice that someone has flattened the tires on their vehicle. Who would do such a thing? But not to worry, Adam has a plan. He's gonna abandon his little brother and the girl that he likes and take a taxi to the mini golf place just so he can win the contest. What a guy. And this is what kind of guy he really is.
Forgot all about my birthday.
Oh.
When's your birthday?
Today.
Oh, come on. We see Adam and Flinch standing right here in front of these buildings, hitchhiking, trying to get a ride to Miniature Golf World. And as they stand right here in front of what was a bakery at the time, they see that, I believe, 1957 Chevy four-door come around the corner right here with the elderly couple driving it, and it stops and picks them up. So Flinch then decides that he's going to take control, and he jumps out of the back of the car, and they're now right back in the very same place where they started. But then when they run up onto the curb, they're now in a completely different location. Now all of a sudden they're standing in front of this building, which is about 10 minutes away from the first location. And when Flinch steps out into the street, you can clearly see this building behind him. This is the same one that we saw earlier across the street from the car wash. Flinch then steps out into the street to stop the car that's coming towards them. They're now back at the location where they were originally. He would have been standing right about here when he stops that car. You can actually see this sign. The business has changed, but the sign is the same. But when he approaches the girls in the car, they're now back at the second location. You can see this plaza. For some reason, they keep switching back and forth between the two locations. I have no idea why. The mini golf place that they go to was a Malibu Grand Prix that was located right here on the corner of Whitsett and Van Owen, but unfortunately it burned down many years ago, and this senior apartment building now sits in its place. So the meat wagon is traveling down the street right here when one of them starts to feel sick from all the beer that he drank at the brewery, and they quickly turn into a parking lot so that they can pull over, and when they do, you can clearly see this apartment building across the street. You can see the address, you can see that stone on the front. Everything on the front of this apartment building is the same. I think it had a name right there on the top, but other than that, everything looks the same. So that means right where I'm standing, this would have been the driveway to Malibu Grand Prix. But like I said, now a senior apartment building. But right here would have been the driveway that they would have pulled into. So the next clue is look at xylophones initially, or LAX, which is of course Los Angeles International Airport. Now anybody that's ever been to LAX probably knows that filming there can be a little tricky. Traffic can be a nightmare, there's always construction, and there's always a ton of traffic officers yelling at you if you try and stop anywhere. So not all of my angles are exact, but they're pretty close. The building with the sign in front of it for traffic information, 5:30 a.m., that was Terminal 2, and just like everything else here, it's been remodeled since the movie was made. The building that everybody goes inside of, and where the white team gets stopped by Leon's Hare Krishnas, that was Terminal 3, and we know this based on the fact that it was the TWA building. You can kind of see, well, behind this car and that bus, you can see it right there, but again, it's been remodeled since the movie and doesn't look the same. The yellow team stops at Mr. Big Burger to grab a bite to eat and try and figure out the next clue. Now, they would have been parked somewhere right about here because where this kebab place now is, this used to be Mr. Big Burger. And just in case you don't believe that this is where Mr. Big Burger was, here's an old photo of it where you can see the apartment building directly behind it. It's just about the only thing around here that still looks the same today. So the yellow team's enjoying their food while Adam advertises Dr. Pepper. Pepper, wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? And that's of course when they figure out that the clue is Pinball City. Now Pinball City is still a bit of a mystery. In an interview with the filmmakers, they said that Pinball City was shot at the same location as Miniature Golf World. So that would mean it's the arcade at Malibu Grand Prix. But I can't say for sure. However, it makes a lot of sense because the outside of Pinball City looks a lot like the facades that you find at a miniature golf place. I do wish I was able to show this location because it's one of my favorite scenes, and it's all because of this guy.
I scared you, didn't I?
That's right, Pee Wee Herman himself, Paul Rubin. So Adam still doesn't acknowledge Scott even after he helps them figure out the next clue, and Scott just can't take it anymore. As the yellow team's vehicle comes to a stop, Scott jumps out of the car and takes off running, and as he does, you can see a magic muffler across the street and the sign for San Fernando Boulevard. Right there on the corner, that's where that magic muffler used to be. The car comes to a stop right here. Scott jumps out and he takes off running this way, but again, everything here has changed, nothing is the same. So after Adam commits Grand Theft Auto, the rest of the yellow team is walking right here, stranded, trying to figure out what they're gonna do. This building here, completely different building, but this is where they're walking. They're now sitting on this wall, trying to figure out what their next move is, when all of a sudden they see Adam coming over the bridge, and everybody is so excited. Adam is back to save the day. He's a big hero, which really makes no sense to me because, I mean, he's the one that's been a jerk throughout the whole movie. He's the one that abandoned his friends in the first place, but now because he decides to come back and pick up the people that he abandoned, he's now a big hero. I don't know, whatever. So Scott's now sitting on a bus bench in front of the Savoy Hotel, which used to be located right here, but this entire area has been completely demolished and redone since the movie was made. As Scott sits here on the bus bench, all of a sudden the blue team's van pulls up and Scott decides he's going to help him out. Once they get the information they need from Scott, the blue team throws Scott out into the middle of the street, and that's about the time that Adam and the yellow team comes around the corner. And it was right here in the street where Scott goes running towards Adam and they have that big brotherly hug and everybody's so happy. Again, for some reason, Scott just completely forgot that Adam has been a total jerk to him his entire life. And yeah, whatever. After they throw Scott out of the van, Lucille realizes that she lost her little Harold doll, and she takes the wheel and flips the van around right in front of McCoy's shoes and forces Harold to go back and look for the doll. The van then drives right towards Hollywood Way, right past what's now Porto's Bakery. And as everyone heads over to the Bonaventure Hotel, we see the cars coming out of this driveway, and they pass right by the other police car that's parked right here, placing Leon's landlady under arrest. And the finale of the movie takes place right here in downtown Los Angeles at the Bonaventure Hotel.
Paging Mr. Players. Mr. Game Players.
And of course, Adam and the yellow team win the game, while Harold and the blue team get arrested. We see hotel security walking them right in between these two pillars. Once Harold sees all the food, he breaks free from security and goes crazy, and starts eating all the food that was on the buffet table. And when Lucille tries to stop him, he knocks her right into the fountain. Adam and Laura kiss, and everybody is so happy, even complete strangers that have no idea who they are.
What's the matter with you?
Well, that's going to do it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.